I'm Arba Kumson. Thank you for joining us. In our first story, the latest twist to the unfolding SSNIT IT infrastructure contract saga, Joy News is learning the contract was backdated, resulting in the trust incurring an avoidable cost of $2 million. As you may know, the new management of SSNIT, led by Director General Dr. John Ofori Tinkerang, has launched a probe into the $72 million operational business suite contract. The IT infrastructure is to modernize and improve upon efficiency of its operations. Well, there's been huge public uproar about what many perceive to be the bloated cost of the contract. Well, now it's emerging that management of SSNIT in 2016 ignored legal advice against backdating the contract agreement. My colleague Raymond Akwa has a copy of that letter and he joins me in the studio with details. So Raymond, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Now, so what reasons did the management offer, if any at all, for backdating the contract?
So the memorandum quotes that the response was that the OBS phase 1 was implemented in May 2014. All the hardware for the project were installed in April 2014. PBS Silver Lake have performed support from May 2014, including replace the OBS registration software and have been fixing the registration equipment. The companies also provided support for the other hardware component. Therefore, the SLA was scheduled to begin on September 2014. Activities, they say, were done prior to the start date. That's why they actually backdated it.
All right, so clearly the lawyer for SSNIT was uncomfortable about management's decision for him to backdate the contract. Obviously, there are some huge financial implications. What are those?
So, for example, he quotes that what it means is that SSNIT will have to pay the annual SLA fee of $2 million immediately upon signing the agreement to cover the period of September 2014 to September 2015, and also pay another $2 million in September this year, when in effect it would have been just right to pay just 9 months of the service under the SLA instead of the contractual 2 years, and he considered that as very objectionable.
Now, the lawyer goes further to question management's decision on this matter because, as we understand, there were no documents to back that decision.
He says that I have not seen no document. I have seen no document, agreement, or any other lawful basis to this effect. Why will he advocate for PBS Silver Lake by explaining that they have offered services from 2014 that has to be paid by SSNIT by backdating the OBS back there? I have not seen any request from PBS Silver Lake to this effect, so why should he seek to champion their cause? Should his allegiance not be with SSNIT? He asked.
All right, okay. Many thanks for those details, and that was my colleague Raymond Akwa with those details. Now, as you know, this issue has been running pretty much throughout this week. Here are some brief facts on the controversial OBS contract agreement. We'll bring you that in a bit. We're taking a short break, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned. And you're welcome back to Joy News Prime. We do apologize for the short break. We were experiencing some technical hitches, but that's fixed now, so we can go on. As I indicated earlier, the issue with the SSNIT contract saga has been running pretty much throughout the week. Here are some brief facts on the controversial contract agreement. Now, number 1, 10 firms bid for the contract in 2011. 2, Persol was the least expensive with a bid of 17.4 million cedis. That's $3.8 million. 3, Perfect Business System and Silver Lake Consortium won the bid with a bid of $27.6 million. 4, Persol met all 21 listed criteria with the exception of signature to cover power of attorney. 5, Perfect Business System and Silver Lake met all criteria without exception. 6, Contract with Perfect Business System and Silver Lake Consortium was signed in November 2012. 7, The contract sum was $34 million. 8, Contract sum excluded $2.2 million annual payment for software license agreement. 9, It excluded maintenance. 10, SSNIT failed to properly scope the contract, and so IT infrastructure was not found fit for purpose after spending $34 million. 11, additional requests made in an attempt to fix the oversight, leading to several added costs, ballooning figure to $72 million. 12. SNIT executives were flown to Malaysia to conduct technical due diligence. 13. But ended up paying for a Provident Fund IT infrastructure instead of Social Security IT infrastructure. 14. More money spent in customization to make it Social Security compliant. 15. EOCO has subpoenaed at least 15 staff of SNIT over the scandal. 16. The software has failed to work despite spending $72 million on it so far. So those were some facts about the SNIT agreement. Now, meanwhile, the Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, Dr. John Tinkerang, is assuring Ghanaians that he will fix the problems that have dogged the controversial $72 million automation project. Speaking on Current Affairs Show Upfront, Dr. Tinkerang explained he will get the project back on track with little or no resources.
I'm going to have to make it work.
Really?
We paid so much money for it.
So you're going to make more investments to make it work?
No, I'm going to have it fixed. And I said, as I said, I want to get it fixed at little or no cost. And I told you, we've engaged the vendors. We've told them this is what you promised to give us. This is what we have. This is the gap. That gap needs to be filled.
And they have agreed to fill it?
I can say that I have letters that have been written, meetings that we've had, which have been followed up by letters which, some of the vendors have committed that they're going to help us get over this and put it behind us, because we've got a business to run. And I want to be talking to you about the good things that we've been doing for SNIT rather than this. So I need to get this fixed, because if I don't get this fixed...
Are there timelines, specific timelines on how we're going to see the change and when you're going to fix this problem?
I think I can tell you that the vendors came to see us, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. We agreed on the rules of engagement. We're supposed to give them all the gaps, things that we need to get done that hasn't been done. And we give it to them. We've done that. They are supposed to review it. I think within the next couple of weeks, they're supposed to come back and sit with us and basically agree on a timeline to get it finished. I'm going to have to make it work.
Really?
We paid.
And you're still watching Joy News Prime. Still to come, New Patriotic Party members from across the country converge at the University of Cape Coast for the party's annual Delegates Conference. We'll be there live tonight on preparations. You're welcome back now to Sierra Leone now, where rescue efforts are still ongoing after a massive mudslide claimed the lives of 400 citizens there and left hundreds missing. Government Chief Pathologist in Sierra Leone, Dr. Simeon Owitz Koroma, who also manages the Connaught Hospital, has been speaking to Joy News on how he and his team managed the hundreds of bodies before the mass burial. He also shared his experience as the only pathologist in the West African country.
As a Sierra Leonean, this is the first time I'm coping with such a disaster. So the scale, the quantum, and the speed at which the bodies were being brought here. And you know there are phases: recovery phase, collection here, separation, examination, and documentation. I was able, I don't know where the energy came from. Well, I'm well trained in this business. So with my volunteers and my doctors, management here motivated me, and I was able to cope. As you can see, no smell, no corpse, all were buried.
How many did you receive on that first day?
On the first day, I received up to 338, to be very specific. I'm very meticulous with figures. I was able the next day to separate and, of course, quickly buried the completely dismembered corpses. You have to do that. because we do not have the facilities to keep for further examination or this. So the separation was very difficult. You can see space very small, and we piled them all over this place, and then I was able to separate with my workers here, my attendants, the kids, because it was at night this thing happened. So many kids died, they were fast asleep. Plenty of dismembered bodies, collected those, males, females, and there's the adults first and then the kids. So among that pile of dismembered bodies, I was able also to separate them gender-wise. So we buried those the very day, the very night, 139, all documented, as you can see. Say Sierra Leonean, this is the
While the multimedia team was given a tour of the Connaught morgue, viewer discretion is advised as some portions of the video may be worrying to sensitive viewers.
One of the places where the bodies was packed full, all over here, inside here, outside here, everywhere was packed full with bodies.
There are still bodies here. Are these victims of the
No, they are not
collapse?
victims, because these bodies were here before the disaster. So some of them, they are going to bury them tomorrow.
All the bodies from the disaster, have they been moved from here?
Well, they have been moved, but they are still coming in. They are still coming in. Though we have buried the majority, but they are still coming in.
So what do you do when a body comes from the disaster? What is the process here?
Well, normally the process, we do take the fingerprints of the dead bodies, because some of them come with food, so we take the fingerprints of them.
So some of them come with dismembered body parts?
Yes, yes.
We're currently standing in the post-mortem room.
Yes.
There are 5 bodies here, 3 of them piled together on a tray, and 2 of them on separate sinks where they are to be processed. The smell in here is very medical, and you can tell that a lot of chemicals are used in the work here. Looking around, there's a lot of equipment lying about, and the gentleman and this lady who, of course, work here seem very comfortable and at home. I've got to tell you, I'm feeling very nervous, but of course, this is the job. Beatrice, this can't be easy for you. How long have you been doing this?
7 years.
Are you very comfortable now around bodies?
Yeah, I'm comfortable. I'm very much comfortable, because it's my job. I have to be comfortable with it. In any kind of situation, I have to be comfortable with it.
So as a mortuary assistant, what are some of the duties that you carry out with the bodies?
Well, normally, I do take the names, I register the names, I do the tagging, and sometimes I dress them up, the females. I dress them up.
So go and show us where the bodies were gathered on that day when they first came in. Over 300 bodies. Where did you put them?
Well, as I've told you before, we first packed them here the Monday, and the Tuesday morning, we removed all of them outside here. All of them were here from this part onto the gate over there and over this other side of the building.
We're currently outside in the courtyard, and we're being shown not a very big area, perhaps big enough to park about 6 vehicles. And this is literally where all the bodies were put when they became a little too much for this facility.
Let's stay a while longer in Sierra Leone, because losing a family member comes with pain and grief. What about losing 43 of them? That's the story of the sole survivor of the Kamara family, 25-year-old Francis Kamara, who nearly died in the devastating mudslide in Sierra Leone that killed his entire family. He's been narrating his story to Joy FM Super Morning Show host Kojo Yangson.
The time cancer was and go to us and me then wound me. So now they man that then go take with soldier man there. Now then go full way.
Were you living near the water? How did you end up in the water?
So the wall will bang me, where the water go inside the hose, now they then go to it. So we say I want go, now they then broke back the hose, the wall, now they bang me. If you wanna see her, I'll get son here.
Right, so he's showing some scratches and a swelling on his ribs, all as a result of being thrown about by the water. As a result of being thrown about by the water, he has a swelling on his ribs and some cuts and bruises and a massive cut on his foot, which is being tended to as we speak. So, did you lose your property?
All my property and go, my family back go, and me one able to survive.
You are the only person who survived?
Out of 43.
43 people in your house?
Yeah.
And you are the only one who survived?
And only one.
Well, another survivor, a visually impaired Ghanaian who has been living in Sierra Leone for the past 30 years, has also been speaking about how a timely intervention from his neighbors saved his life.
3 o'clock to go in peace. I see my room full of water. Then I see people shouting, Nana, open the door, open the door, open the door. I open. Before I opened, the water was here.
Up to your chest?
To my chest. I got room divider where I've divided the room with it. My mobile, my TV, my everything. Got me boxes. I got 2 boxes full of things from my children who are in America and Holland. All gone. I see the whole yard full of water. A big compound about 50 years. A big compound full of water. So they jumped me to the veranda high on the street. I go sit down until in the morning. By then 10, when my children came and took me out of this place. I was having only my gun on, without even pants.
So you have lost everything?
Everything.
Let's stay a while longer in Sierra Leone. Question, how does it feel to crave for banku, fufu and perhaps other Ghanaian foods, delicacies like jollof in faraway countries? Then you walk down the street and you come across an eatery with a screaming sign, Ajinkwa Chop Bar, which in Twi literally means the Saviour's Eatery. Quite exciting, I would imagine. Well, that's the feeling for majority of Ghanaian residents in Sierra Leone who troop daily to Ajinkwa Chop Bar on the Stewart Street to enjoy some Ghanaian delicacies. Joy News' Maxwell Akwakwa chanced upon some of the patrons of the local food joint who shared their experience.
Here at Ajinkwa restaurant, here at the Stewart Street. Now I'll tell you what, the Ajinkwa restaurant is truly living up to the billing and is living up to its name, being the savior, providing Ghanaians living here in Sierra Leone with what they need. Let me move and then have interactions with some of them who are here. Let me first of all talk to this man who's enjoying a bowl of beans with some plantains and then some fish in there. Chief, what's your name?
My name is Robert. Robert,
okay. Robert Beidu.
Yes, sir.
Which part of Ghana do you come from, Robert?
Accra, Malam.
Accra, Malam. Yes. How long have you been living here in Sierra Leone?
It's almost 5 years now.
Almost 5 years?
Yes.
Tell me, what is it like? I mean, this place, Ajinkwa restaurant, how often do you come here?
Well, almost every day. I'm here, yes, eating. Well, here I came with my lunch, everything. Was here only, that's the place where you do the Ghanaian food. Yeah.
Do you feel homesick sometimes, or you think the food here is providing everything that you need, so you don't really miss home that much?
Yes, because everything is okay. Yeah, you have everything. So I enjoy his food.
Now let me speak to another man who just finished a bowl of banku with what? With shito and then some fish. How long have you been?
Redfish.
Okay. How long have you been staying here?
5 years. 5 years.
5 years. What have you been? What have you been doing?
Yeah, we are working with the government printing department. We are in partnership with government printing department. Okay. Yeah. So I'm the production manager over there. Yeah.
So how far is your office from this place? Do you have to drive long hours to get here, or?
Yeah, it's worth it because this is the only place you can get our local dishes. You understand? So you don't mind coming. Sometimes we even take dinner home, you know, take away. Yes. Yes.
So you can eat it in the evening, you don't have to walk all the way to this place.
Yes, yes.
Tell me, what sort of remedy is this, restaurant providing to you?
Yeah, in fact, when we visited this country for the first time, it wasn't easy for us because, you know, we are not used to this cassava leaves and this crane and other things. So it was difficult. So somebody introduced this place for us. Okay. And since then, I think we feel at home.
Hello everyone, welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. Now, government has indicated plans to strengthen the local steel industry to help create employment for the youth and grow the economy. This is to be achieved through exploitation of iron ore and manganese deposits in the northern and western regions of the country. President Akufo-Addo announced this when he addressed the opening of the Harvard Africa Alumni Action Forum.
The event, which is the first of its kind in Ghana, is part of activities to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the flagship International Mason program of Harvard University, which coincided with Ghana's 60th anniversary celebration. According to the president, natural resources of the country will be used to generate wealth for the citizens.
We think the time has come for Ghana to develop strategic industries out of its abundant natural resources of bauxite and iron ore. We intend to establish shortly an integrated aluminum industry development authority to assemble the relevant financial resources for the systematic exploitation and transformation of our bauxite into aluminum, the metal of the future. By the same token, we've decided to exploit our substantial iron ore and manganese deposits situated in the western and northern regions of our country to build an integrated steel industry to serve the needs of our country and region. This process of economic and industrial transformation has to go along with ensuring that the most basic elements of social justice are met.
The forum is being held under the theme Reimagining Africa, a Call to Action. It aims to initiate conversations, foster relationships, as well as develop recommendations and a set of policies to address the challenges affecting various sectors of the continent that need to function properly to aid growth.
And while government's plan to industrialize the economy has gotten a major boost with the commencement of work on the Kumfi pineapple processing factory, is a first project under the One District, One Factory initiative. The Kumfi project is expected to create jobs for over 5,000 people. But how exactly a small and medium enterprise is going to benefit? Kosi Yankee is acting executive director of the National Board for Small-Scale Industries.
There's a very strong agro-based economy, and there's a lot of agri-processing happening. There are a lot of youth, either in farming, either in small or micro or even medium agro-processing, who can be tied into larger value chains to support the industries and the factories that will come up under One District, One Factory. Also, there are medium scale that the youth and entrepreneurs can support in. So across the spectrum and across the chain, you can have farmers who are youth, processors who are youth. You can have a lot of different entrepreneurs who can either support bigger industries or provide support across board.
The President did mention that we are looking forward to having a mineral development authority, kind of aluminium development. Any hope for the youth who might want to go into such innovations, you know, to get the best out of our resources, our natural resources that we have in the country?
I think it's important for you to know that everything and most of the things that our current government is working on is to ensure that they're able to push the youth to be a part of all the programs that we are doing.
So how about industry? How far will this initiative, the One District, One Factory policy, go in building an economy based on industry? Earlier, my colleague Georgia Faye engaged the Chief Executive Officer of Reroy Cables, Kate Kote Papafio.
First question is that, what do you make of this initiative? It's actually a laudable idea. It's a real revolution that is actually going to change this country, which all of us, we are all in favor of it. But then also, we need to look at how we're going to put the industries in perspective in terms of how we're going to brand ourselves as Ghana and how we are going to brand our products. With this initiative, it's actually something that we are all looking forward to it. But at the same time, there are challenges.
Indeed, it's good you're talking about challenges, but some would say that what are those things that needs to be worked on or needs to be given a very great attention if government, this policy will succeed? Because we've had several initiatives, presidential special initiative and all the rest, but when you look at the sector right now, there's nothing to write home about.
I would say that there is always challenge in every situation, but then even the challenge shouldn't even deter us from how the industries should run. I mean, one of the challenges is looking at your inputs. It's so expensive.
All right, moving on now, and Car Powership Ghana Company Limited has announced the arrival of the world's largest power ship, the 470-megawatt Kara Dennis Powership Osman Khan, to Ghana. The power ship will start operating at the Tema Fishing Harbour in September. The arrival of Kara Dennis Powership Osman Khan follows a power purchase agreement signed with the Electricity Company of Ghana, requiring Car Powership Ghana Company Limited to provide a total of 450 megawatts of power and directly feed it into the national grid for 10 years. The power ship will supply uninterrupted and reliable electricity at a low cost to Ghana for thermal power generation with its dual fuel engines and combined cycle power generation technology. The power ship will initially use low sulfur heavy fuel oil to generate electricity, while the fuel will be converted to natural gas as soon as local natural gas supplies become available, ensuring cost savings for Ghana. The operations of the Kara Dennis power ship Osman Khan is expected to have a significant contribution to Ghana's electricity supply. Now, piracy is believed to be the biggest threat of the creative industry. The advent of downloads and online streaming sites even worsens the phenomenon. To preserve and further grow the industry, Managing Director of MultiChoice Ghana, Cecil Sunkwa-Mills, says there is a need for government to team up with sector players to institute more stringent measures in tackling the menace. He was speaking to Inshira Ado on our business leadership show, The Executive Lounge.
To fight piracy is a partnership. It's a partnership between both the industry, the regulators, and government. So there's been a lot of engagement at different levels, even with the judiciary, with the police, with the copyright administrator, with broadcasters, etc. And there's a lot of education, but at the same time, you also must push prosecution. So with the mix, other countries have gone way above it. Recently, in the UK, there was some box they have which they use to extract the English Premier League to stream across a lot of sites. They've just won a successful court case against them. We know what's happened with a lot of download sites that have been shut down. But it's because somebody does a $55 million movie, and you find somebody downloads it and puts it on a free-to-air station and shows it for free. So by the time that movie gets to the cinema, and the cinema guy who's paid for the content, eventually you're going to run down that business.
Now, the Ghana Immigration Service has been ordered by an Accra High Court to hand Indian businessman Ashok Kumar Sivaram a temporary residence permit. The businessman was awaiting deportation by the service following an order by Interior Minister Ambrose Derry, but the deportation has since been quashed by the High Court. Almost a month since the court's decision, he's yet to obtain his permit, forcing his lawyers to head to court again. The court on Friday directed that the Immigration Service hands him a residence permit pending a determination of the substantive matter. Joy News' Joseph Akable has more in this report.
Two processes are currently before Accra High Court. The first one has to do with seeking an order directed at the Ghana Immigration Service to restore the residence permit of the Indian businessman. The other one is an abridgment of time motion, which in effect is asking that the court hears the matter and determines it as early as possible rather than the normal 14 days that it travels once such an action is initiated before the court. The court held that it was not appropriate to abridge the time, essentially because the Attorney General's Department, which in this case was responding to why the Indian had not been granted that permit, needed some time to respond appropriately to that application. But the other question that Justice Azu asked counsels on both sides was the current residence status of the Indian national, as since his arrival in the country, he had not been granted that permit as was directed by the court on August 8. His lawyer, Gary Nimakon Mafu, told the court that on August 8, they did appear 3 times before the Ghana Immigration Service, but they failed to go through the process afterwards to ensure that he gets that residence permit. Now, this was denied by the Attorney General's representative, Jasmine Ama. She told the court that the Indian had failed to appear in person before the Ghana Immigration Service, for which reason he was yet to acquire that residence permit. Gary Nimakon Mafu told the court in clear terms that this was untruth, and he told the court that since the Director General of the Immigration Service was present in the courtroom, he could testify as to whether that information being peddled by the Attorney General's representative was true or not. Kwame Techi was called into the witness box, and he was sworn to testify to the court whether indeed a businessman appeared in person or not. In a shocking utterance to the court, he contradicted the statement made by the Attorney General's representative, Jasmine Ama, telling the court that the Indian national did appear before the Ghana Immigration Service. Justice Azu, after hearing the arguments on both sides, ordered that the Immigration Service grants the Indian businessman a temporary residence permit pending the determination of the substantive matter as to whether he should be granted the residence permit or not. So hearing of the substantive matter continues on September 8, where arguments will be advanced whether his stay in the country should be made permanent or not. Reporting for Joy News from the Law Court Complex, my name is Joseph Akable.
The minority in Parliament is demanding the Energy Minister submits to Parliament for ratification details of the signed 5-year agreement with Equatorial Guinea for the supply of liquefied natural gas to Ghana. The ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, Adam Mutawakilu, at a media briefing said the Energy Minister must also outline measures government intends to put in place to meet the December deadline. Matilda Wemega reports.
The agreement between Ghana and Equatorial Guinea was signed during President Akufo-Addo's 3-day trip to Equatorial Guinea. The 5-year agreement, which is renewable every 5 years, will see Equatorial Guinea supply 150 million standard cubic feet of natural gas per day to Ghana. The MOU also provides for the building and operation of an LNG regasification terminal in Takoradi in the western region. The minority in Parliament is already raising concerns about the MOU. Ranking member for Parliament's Mines Energy Committee, Adam Mutawakilu, says Parliament must be briefed on the details of the agreement.
It is an international transaction, and per the Supreme Court ruling, it should be brought to Parliament for ratification. In that, we'll be able to know the terms and conditions of the agreement. LNG supply is not like laying gas from Nigeria, where it straight away goes to the generating plant. In LNG, you look at transportation, you look at the regasification units. We want to find out from the minister whether already we have a regasification unit, whereby come December, we'll be able to regasificate the gas and supply it to the needed plant for power generation. As far as we are concerned, we know that the previous government signed an agreement with West Africa Gas Limited. Also, GNPC is undertaking an LNG project. And this year, we approved an amount of $21.25 million to continue with the construction. And there were no indications from any of them that by December, they will be done with the regasification unit for it to be.
Meanwhile, the ranking member has described as a witch hunt the seizure of mining equipment belonging to Exton Cubic Group in the Ashanti regional town of Nyinahini. Mr. Mitawakilu says the manner in which the action was taken and the EPA's denial of issuing mining permits to the company is problematic. He spoke earlier on The Pulse with Aisha Ibrahim.
Quite worrying that we demonize a lot of Ghanaians, including my brother Ibrahim Mama. Any move he makes, people are interested to bring him down. I think
is that what it is?
No, it is very, very important as a nation to approve things fairly. We will realize that there is a conflict between the action taken by Asante Regional Minister and the Minister for Lands and Forestry and the Forestry Commission. The Forestry Commission said they have issued a permit. I thought that the Asante Regional Minister should have coordinated this, the ministry and the commission, before taking such action. You don't take action like that. Two, EPA coming with the distance. I thought that being such an agency, they should have first of all invited Exxon Cubic to come in so that they discuss it first. Or if you have your document proving, and then at the end of the day, when you are coming out, you know what you are about. But issue a statement without first of all meeting the company to verify is worrying.
You're watching Joy News Prime.